Hey guys, today I'm going to be making some ruined walls. I'm going to be making sort of more Lord of the Rings themed ruined walls at the moment, but you can adapt them however you see fit. The materials that I'm going to be using are firstly a foam board. This is just a foam board with a bit of black paper on top and a bit of black paper on the bottom. It's a really good basing material, I find. It's cheap, it lasts, and it's solid. You can use whatever else you use for your bases, whether it's plastic, whether it's cardboard, whether it's wood, whatever floats your boat. For the actual ruined walls, I'm going to be making them out of bricks, and the bricks are made out of styrofoam. This is sort of, I guess, higher grade polystyrene. The major advantage is that when you cut it with a sharp razor or a sharp knife, whatever you use, it doesn't it doesn't have that sort of ball-like texture that polystyrene does. I'm gonna be using PVA glue. It's just the standard glue that I use for most of the stuff that I make nowadays. You can use hot glue, and I think it works just fine. It's also going to set much faster than PVA glue. I wouldn't use super glue. Firstly, it's quite expensive, and secondly, it's going to melt your styrofoam, so it's not going to stick, it's going to melt, and you're going to ruin everything. For the actual paint job, I'm going to be using just paint, so black paint for the undercoat, and then I'm going to be mixing in more and more white paint for the highlights, and I'm going to be dry brushing, but you'll see that later. For the actual base, I'm going to be using two types of static grass. One's slightly darker, it's this one. I got this from Woodland Scenics. It's really good because it comes in massive containers and it's relatively cheap. I highly recommend using the Games Workshop grass because it's really expensive. It's meant to be used for basing models and not for making terrain. So if you want, go just look up Woodland Scenics on Google and go to their website. They ship everywhere. Well, almost everywhere. This is just some leftover static grass that's slightly lighter than the other grass. I'm also going to be using this underbush. It's just a bit more sort of rough texture, and it's sort of like your small bushes that you might find, just to add a bit of variation to the base. And lastly, I'll see if I'm going to be using these. These are just standard rocks that you find out in your garden. So let's begin. Firstly, what you want to do is you can either use like a whiteboard marker or a pencil or whatever you use to mark out the size of your terrain, but you're going to be making the base, cutting out the base first. Once you've rounded the corners off, what we're going to be doing is not worrying about the base so much anymore. We're going to cut out the styrofoam bricks that we're going to be using to build the walls. You can build the walls in many different ways. I find that the brick way sort of is a more fun way to do it, really, because you don't really know what you're going to be building at the start. It's sort of like Lego, I guess. Now what you do is, when you've got your styrofoam, you will not be needing a large piece. This is, what is it? It's about 3 centimeters thick. Yeah, about 3 centimeters, that's just over an inch. So the bricks that we're going to be making are about 1 by 1 by 2 centimeters. That translates to about half an inch by half an inch by 1 inch. It doesn't really have to be accurate. You definitely do not need to use my measurements for your brick size. You can make them whatever size you want. This is just... What you want to do now is the side that you cut is hopefully going to be quite smooth. So that's the side that you're going to be mainly working with. You want to measure about a centimeter in and sort of mark it, I guess. You can either use accurate measurements or you can just go by eye, I guess. Then what you want to do is set it it's straight down, and so you can make a clear cut and keep about the same distance all the way. It honestly doesn't matter. These are ruins, so it's not expected that every single brick is going to be the same. All of them are going to be weathered in some different way. Once you've cut out your piece, what you want to do is see how thick it is. Mine's 3 centimeters thick, so what I'm going to be doing is making 3 layers out of this. Sort of mark where about a third is, mark where the second third is, and just make a straight down cut and try to keep the same width on both sides. It once again does not matter if you do or do not keep the same width. If you mess up slightly, don't worry, it's not going to matter at the end. Once you've made your cuts, well, this one was actually really bad. Once you've made your cuts, hopefully better than my ones, you can always just adjust it by shaving bits and pieces here and there. Now, what you want to do is measure a brick size that you want. I'm going to go with my standard 2 centimeters. So I'm going to make 2 centimeter blocks out of styrofoam. Once you've got your first one, it's quite easy, just keep them about the same size. You can put it next to them and just keep cutting more and more. Once again, they do not need to be accurately 2 centimeters. If you do want to make it accurate, use like a whiteboard marker and just mark them off. It's probably better to make them accurate, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Some of them are going to be more worn than others, so you'll have to account for it anyway. The measurements, as I said before, they can be any size you like. I make my ones this size, you do not have to. I make them twice this size as well, and what I do is I use these, what I call small bricks, for sort of like the building ruins. And I make slightly larger bricks and I use those, which is the 2 times this size, so 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters by 4 centimeters. And I use those for like the sort of like castle walls or fort walls kind of ruins. If you like using inches, use inches. It's approximately, the castle walls are about an inch by an inch by 2 inches. Once you've got enough, you can always make more later on. What you do is you take your base and you make your basic layout with your bricks. So one of my walls that I'm going to be making, I want to make it sort of like a bent wall, so it's going to be a corner. The size of the wall depends on what kind of characters you're using. If you want to make a wall that's for, say, hobbits or goblins, which are short characters, then it doesn't really have to be that high. If you want a wall for, I don't know, men and elves and stuff, it needs to be slightly higher if you want it to give proper cover. If you're making it for a different game like Warhammer or Warhammer 40k or one of the World War, I don't know what games, then just make it to whatever size your game rules allow. Now, I've made a couple more bricks just to raise the walls a bit higher. What you can do is make some parts of the wall high enough to cover the whole character so you can't be seen at all, and make other parts of the wall slightly lower, so like this part here might fully cover like a goblin, and this part here will only go about, I don't know, waist or maybe neck high, so it's going to be used for shooting from behind cover and like fighting over walls and stuff. Now what you want to do before you start gluing stuff is you want to take sort of like the bricks that you plan to have on the top of the wall, and you want to sort of like either cut off the edges, sort of like give them a worn look, and what you can do is, as you have your razor, you just sort of run it across the side of the wall, and it gives it a sort of rough appearance. And because this isn't polystyrene but it's styrofoam, it doesn't like completely screw up the wall, and it doesn't look really bad. It actually looks really good, and you'll see later on once we're dry brushing and stuff how this sort of weathered look really comes out looking really good. Once you're done with this, set the more worn bricks to the side so that you can use them as the top bricks, and all the rest, if you really want to, you can give like the normal bricks a weathered look on the sides as well, so that they look nice from the sides. One more thing you can do is on bricks, like for example this one here, whoops, the whole wall just fell down, bricks that will be sort of like that on its side, this one here at the end, you can cut off quite a large piece of the brick, so like you'll be cutting, I don't know, a third of the brick off, and that way it's just gonna make your wall have a straight edge like that. So if you put a brick on top, there's not going to be a protruding brick here. It's just going to be a straight wall, which makes gaming a lot easier. You can either do that, or you can just keep it sort of like staircase styled side of the wall. It's up to you. Last thing before we start gluing stuff on is you take your bases, and what you do is you sort of cut off at an angle. So this is just so that it's not like a steep half centimeter rise at the side of your base, just so that there's just like any other base, I guess. Even models have a sort of sloped edge. Gluing and painting this in the second video. I'll leave the link in the description and possibly in an annotation. It's going to appear on the screen. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you would like to see more, then subscribe. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the second part.